So when I became a man, whenever that happened, if I ever got sad or scared, there'd be a bigger overriding emotion than being sad or scared, and that would be shame, because I shouldn't be sad. I'm a man. I shouldn't be scared. I'm a man. And so I'd shut those things down. I'd try and fix things or get angry, or I'd just hide it.
Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel where it's all about stepping up. In today's episode, I was joined by Tim Fisk, who is the founder of Complete Man, which is a men's group supporting men for personal growth, self-development and so much more. I was able to sit with him at his beautiful home on the Gold Coast, where he shared with me stories of his own personal experiences from mental health to midlife crisis and so much more. But look, don't just take my word for it. Stick around to find out as he shared with me his story. So without further ado, let's dive into the show. Today I'm back here on the Gold Coast. I'm with the founder of Complete Man, who does great work here on the Gold Coast, who provides a service for men, supporting men for personal growth and development, self-development. I'm joined by Tim today, and it is truly an honor and a pleasure to have him on the show today. But before we dive in, do you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, sure. My name's Tim Fisk. I'm 66 years old. I'm in a relationship after being single for a long time. I have two sons, 31 years old, twins. And one of them I have a really close relationship, and the other one's not talking to me at the moment. So I'm just trusting that that's all going to come good. So I've still got my P plates on as far as being a father's concerned. And I guess I'm an uncle figure or a grandfather figure to many.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, Tim, what is Complete Man?
Interesting question, and that would change, I guess, every few years as it evolves. But I guess Complete Man was started because I was really lost in midlife, and there were some men in other men's groups, organisations, who really inspired me, who helped me through, who listened to me, who put up with my shit. And who blessed me and loved me and accepted me for who I was, and I guess saw things in me that I couldn't yet see myself. And I guess that's my job now with other men. I've been past those reins, and it's a beautiful place to be. It's a beautiful place to be, going from a dark, isolated, hopeless, lonely place that I was in, and it's a beautiful place to be now, blessing and inspiring and accepting other men and giving them what I've got.
So before you started up Complete Man, were there other groups you were involved with first before you got involved with Complete Men's, or was Complete Man pretty much the beginnings of?
No, my first men's group I went to was in the year 2000, and my marriage had busted up and I had no idea what to do. And I was really looking for some legal advice and lifestyle advice and everything. And I went along to this group in Auckland, and I didn't really get any advice. I didn't really get many answers. In fact, I got a whole lot more questions to ask rather than answers. But I got this feeling that I wasn't alone, and what was happening to me happened to a lot of other people. I got a lot of comfort and inspiration out of that, and a sense of belonging. I then, later on, my mental health, I went through a pretty spectacular midlife crisis a few years later involving mental illness. I got diagnosed with a mental illness, alcohol addiction, suicide attempt, bankruptcy, a few other things like that. And I was looking for a men's group. I was living down at Byron, and I couldn't find one. I could find a few, but we're not meeting at the moment, or we're not taking on new men, or you've got to do this course and it costs $2,000 to join our group, and I didn't have anything and all of that stuff. And I finally got involved in a few different types of men's groups and tried out a few different things. And I'm still a member of various different organisations. Like I go to men's wellbeing gatherings in southeast Queensland. I'm part of the Mankind Project and attend their trainings, and also do the Complete Men stuff. And there's probably quite a few I haven't mentioned.
From that, you transitioned into starting up Complete Men.
Yeah, what I wanted, I guess, was something. I'd been really lost, and I was looking for something that week that could take me in, and there wasn't anything. And I wanted, during my time getting involved with these other men's groups and organisations, I learned a little bit about how to facilitate and how to run a men's group and everything like that. So I really wanted to have something like the group I'd found in New Zealand available, that's there every week, that's open to new blokes all the time, and that also had not just a lot of new blokes coming, but also had a lot of guys who'd been coming for a few years and wanted to pass it on or whatever.
Oh wow, that's it's done so well here on the Gold Coast.
It's done really well on the Gold Coast, keeping it local. And I just wanted to add, people say, oh, what do you get out of this? And I've got different things out of it over the years, but right now, I guess what I get out of helping, I say younger men, but some of them can be older than me, but helping guys who are a bit stuck or going through a bit of a change, crisis, relationship bust up, health issue, whatever it is. What I get out of helping those younger men is I'm really healing my younger self. Because so much of my younger life, any time I had an awkward or an uncomfortable feeling, I'd shove it in a closet. And that closet's been overflowing for years, and it comes out sideways and trips me up. So helping other men, I've done a lot of work on myself, and now helping other men is finding some more blind spots I didn't know I have, and just clearing out that closet a bit.
That's so amazing. And I have attended some of these meetings too, and seen the great results with some of the men that have come through it as well. And for me personally, when I got to walk in, it was welcoming. I really enjoyed the sessions. There was no push to open up straight away. They gave you time to just sit in a safe space, and that's some of the things that I'm grateful for learning throughout those meetings that I attended. But also, I just wanted to just find out, with the Complete Men's, are there other different programs involved or connected with the Complete Men's program?
So Complete Men at the moment, I guess the mainstay is we started a group at the end of 2016 in Robina, and that's been meeting every week except for maybe a week or so over Christmas. We have a break, and we got shut down and went online for a month or so over COVID. But other than that, it has met there every week. And we started Coomera at the end of 2017, and same thing there. So we've got North and South Gold Coast, and there are men there to be there and support men in crisis and support themselves through their next phase of the growth every week. And it doesn't cost anything. Because I remember when I was going through all my stuff, I didn't have 2 cents to rub together. And even if I did, I didn't trust anybody else. And it was great that other men had just made this stuff available to me.
Now that you're at this point of what you've done and what you're always continuing to improve on, what are some of the benefits that you've seen throughout the progress of the program with other men that have come through it?
I would say over the years, we've had maybe a couple of thousand men come through and attend our groups, and I'd say we've changed a lot of lives. and those men can tell their own stories. And I'd say we've saved a lot of lives. We've prevented suicides, all of that sort of stuff. And we've helped families, guys feeling more comfortable in themselves. And I'll get onto that in a sec, perhaps with my story. But shifting from being isolated and hiding behind a mask of this is how I'm supposed to be as a man, and now, being more open and contributing to their communities and making a huge difference in the world. So, and to add on to that question you had before, we've got those 2 groups on the Gold Coast every week. We also have an online group that started up, during COVID. And it's great now because that's something that's available to guys not on the Gold Coast. And we get, the great thing was this was something for guys in regional areas. Like so from where you come on, you can check in every Tuesday evening. And we find we're getting guys from South Africa and the US and all of that sort of stuff joining. So very, very proud of that. And what Complete Men's doing now, we turned into a charity in about 2018, 2019. So it's a fully non-profit foundation now. And there's a lot of generous people donate money. We don't go out and ask for it. We don't ask for government grants. We don't want, to create an empire and have strings attached and all of that sort of stuff. But we're growing, we're financially solid and stable, and we can back guys in different things. And a couple of things we're doing at the moment is there's a program called Powerhouse Programs, which helps teenagers go through that transition, particularly boys to young men. So next week we've got a camp in the bush for a week. There's no power, there's no cell phone signal. We've got 13 families coming, 13 boys and their dads or mentor figures in their life, and we've probably got about another 30 staff. And the boys there can hear stories from the men, being genuinely authentic without any advice or moralising, just the men's own experiences about good stuff and about not so good stuff, about challenges, about grief they've had in their life. There'll be laughter, there'll be tears, there'll be everything. And, they can pick and choose rather than this is what you should be, this is what a man should be like. There'll be, 45 men or something on that camp, and no one is better than the other. Some of them will have amazingly ripped abs and pumped bodies, and others will have bodies like mine. Some of them will be in robust mental health, and other guys will be seriously struggling with depression, anxiety, that sort of stuff. Some of them, one of the guys who comes regularly flies his own helicopter. He's got a bit of coin, and other guys will be on welfare for the rest of their lives. Some guys can really put a sentence together, and other guys really struggle to articulate themselves. Some guys are musically gifted. Some guys, they're all men, and they're all there being the best they can be. And the teenagers really, really relate to this. So we initiate them from, just like they have for thousands of years, from boys into young men. That's a thing that Complete Men's doing now. And so as a charity, we give them tax-deductible status. We get free Google ads. It all comes under the insurance umbrella. And we offer them good governance with a good board. We're now doing the same with a meditation group here on the Gold Coast, run by one of the men in our men's group. And we're looking at other things. And the other thing I think we're doing is a local community here on the Gold Coast lost one of their high-profile citizens, and it was a young guy in his 40s with a young family. He took his life. And so they had a charity lunch and auctions and raffles and things like that, and they gave us $30,000 last year. And what we're doing with that, instead of using it for Complete Men, is, because if it's about suicide prevention, one size doesn't fit all. Complete Men's not the answer for everybody. And you know that from all the different people, the different types of men's work that you've interviewed in your podcast. So we've got on board at the moment a collaborative of Mankind Project, Men's Wellbeing, Centre for Men Australia, Men's Table, Dads in Distress, and a few other organisations, and I apologise if I haven't mentioned anybody, but we're going to put on a big men's work day next year, and we're going to have a directory of services available for blokes that cost nothing or next to nothing, you know, for blokes who are struggling a bit with something, and just encouraging guys to connect rather than being tough and doing it on their own like I used to do, you know. So I'm very excited about that, and it's not even a complete men thing. We've called it Men's Mates and Mentors. And my dream, I'm quite involved in this first one, but my vision, I guess, would be, what would be awesome is if this happened every year, and without me involved necessarily, and even if this went further wide in Australia. And we've got a few people interested that we're talking to, but that's a bit of a long-term dream of mine.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning back in. And if you're finding value in today's show, please subscribe and hit that like button, as it helps the channel to grow and reach out to individuals, communities that are wanting to share their own stories that both you or someone you know of can relate to, and use some of the tools and steps that they used in helping them to overcome and navigate their mental states. So without further ado, let's dive back into the show. Well, I'm pretty excited. I can't wait to see that dream come true. It's so amazing what you're doing. And I just wanted to circle back to, you wanted to elaborate on your story, on your personal story that you mentioned earlier.
Sure.
If you want to, we
Sure.
can go there.
So, let's talk about men, or let's talk about this man and his struggle. So, you know, this is a story I'm quite easy telling now, but I was so uncomfortable about sharing any of this stuff years ago. I was carried a lot of shame about who I was, not being good enough, and that sort of stuff. And I guess when I was a kid, I must have figured that when I became a man, I'd never be sad. Now, before you laugh at that, if you think about it, when I was a little boy, if I was sad, I'd cry. And mum or dad or someone would kiss it better and say, that's okay. Big boys don't cry, men don't cry. You know, stop crying. And I must have figured, well, cool, men don't get sad. I'd never seen a man cry. And the same for being scared. You know, I suffer from anxiety sometimes. And I remember in first class being called, at school, being called a chicken and a coward and yellow and all of that stuff. But big boys are brave, men are brave. So I must have figured when I became a man, I'd never be scared and I'd never be sad. I'd be like Bruce Willis out of Die Hard, you know? I'd always know what to do. And I could get pissed off or angry because those terrorists deserve it, you know? So when I became a man, whenever that happened, if I ever got sad or scared, there'd be a bigger overriding emotion than being sad or scared, and that would be shame, because I shouldn't be sad. I'm a man. I shouldn't be scared. I'm a man. And so I'd shut those things down. I'd try and fix things or get angry, or I'd just hide it. And people would say, how you going, Tim? Good. You know, all good. I got it. I'm fine. I found out later that FINE stands for fucked up, insecure, neurotic and emotional. So I was really fine. And I didn't like who I was. And so, you know, I'd deal with things like that with alcohol and all sorts of other things. And going to my first men's group really changed things for me. I could see other guys being vulnerable, talking like I am now, not having the answer and being perfect and everything all the time. Guys admitting they didn't know what to do. Wow. That was a new one for me. And guys quite comfortable with that. And I remember just thinking, I wish I could do that, but I can't. And slowly, I can do more and more of that. You know, the world's not going to end if I muck this interview up or say the wrong thing, you know. But it might feel like it. Yeah. So I was in a really dark place, and what made sense to me, because I was very, very isolated. I wouldn't let people in or get close. And when I would try and reach out for support, well-meaning people, really well-meaning people would say things like, "You shouldn't feel that way, mate." And I'd go, "Oh yeah, you're right. There's something wrong with me. I shouldn't feel that way, so I won't be opening up like that again." And go back to keeping it to myself. Or it'd get too much for me and I'd open up again and people would say stuff like, "Well, mate, you should do this course, you should read this book, you should take this vitamin, you should get more exercise, you should go to church, you should meditate, have a nice," but whatever it was. And that had shut me down from opening up too, because all I could think of, I'm not stupid, I've tried most of this stuff, here's why it won't work for me. So when I discovered some men's groups that was safe and structured, and one of the things we have in Complete Men is that nobody's going to give any advice unless it's asked for, so that if I'm feeling anxious or feeling a bit hopeless about something, I don't want to be told this is what I should do. What I want to hear is from other guys, if that's ever happened to them, and what that was like inside, and what worked for them, and even better, what didn't work for them. And then I can pick and choose. So we have that sort of stuff in our men's groups now. That's the big protocol. Most groups have things like confidentiality and all of that stuff, but the no advice or feedback, but I want to hear you share your story, makes it really, really safe. And so, I wanted to be able to do that like those guys could, and I can now. And all those things that were, I call them liabilities, all those things I was ashamed of, I show them the light, bring them out of the dark, and they don't have such power over me anymore, and they've actually become assets that help other people. And so guys see me talk about stuff now, and I can just see them, some of them go, "Yeah, I wish I could do that."
It's amazing what you do, Tim. Honestly, I'm so inspired hearing about it all again, because it's been a while that I haven't been to your meetings and that, but to hear you talk about the things that you went through and the protocols of what it's like at the Complete Man truly is inspiring to hear.
Thank you.
So I guess for our listeners and our viewers, what would 2 or 3 things you'd like for them to take away from today's discussion?
That men, people don't like talking about genders, but I will. I'll have a go. As a generalization, and in my experience, this is no academic research or anything, when the going gets challenging for people in life, when the going gets challenging for women, they generally, not all the time, but generally like to talk about it and talk about how they feel. When the going gets tough for blokes, particularly for this bloke, I don't want to talk about it, I want to fix it. So if it's a lawnmower or a computer, fantastic, I can fix that. I can't service my car, but I can outsource that, so I can fix that. But when it's something with my blind spots, when it's something with my addictions, when it's something with my family or loved ones or relationships, often my really well-intentioned efforts to fix things end up a frickin' disaster. And then I certainly don't want to talk about how I feel, because I'm feeling shame. And what I found is that's the case for a lot of guys. And instead of, I've got the answer for everything, which I sort of used to be like, opening up about it and hearing other guys' experiences and being real and authentic is incredibly inspiring, and it's healing, and I go from feeling defensive to belonging. So just naming it is taming it, just recognizing that for men, I want to fix this, I want to change it, but there's lots of stuff I can fix and I avoid because it's too hard, and there's lots of stuff I try and fix and I can't because it's none of my business. So try out a group, I would really suggest to people, or even better, because I can try out one and not like it, have a bad night, try out a few. Which is what you're doing, going around and talking to everybody and taking the best of everything.
Because it's a new experience for me going from a men's shed, complete men, Marcus missions, but the principles seem to align to what you just mentioned earlier with, you can't fix internally what you may be going through or trying to fix someone else who's going through some internal problems, but you can fix a toaster, or you can buy a new toaster, or you can
Yeah.
so what is something that you'd like to see probably improved on with, say, men's mental health in the future through the health system? If there's something that could be improved upon, is there something that you can think of to improve the system for the men? Or
I think it's already happening, and there's not one size fits all, not just for men, but for everybody's mental health. And when I started Complete Men, there was Men's Sheds, Men's Wellbeing, Mankind Project, and a few others, and not much. Now I look on Google, and there's Dads with Prams, there's Mentoring Men, there's, Walk Around the Lake, there's Walk Around the Park, there's so many different programs for men and for boys and all of that stuff. It'd be awesome if, it was the same in every state and in every location and all of that stuff. And it's not, because, little grassroots organisations like Complete Men, we just mainly do the Gold Coast, and someone else is doing something completely different on the Sunshine Coast. But there's so many of these things opening up. The other inspiring thing is it's great to see young guys get into this now. There's things called men coaches now and stuff like that. And, guys in their 30s and 20s running stuff for other guys. So we used to have personal trainers for building up bodies. Now we've got men coaches for building up accountability and resilience and all of that. And I just think the culture is changing, And sure, it's not perfect. Sure, it could go a long way. But, I'm just really inspired that it's happening.
yeah, and that's great to hear too, that those steps are starting to fall into place for other groups popping up, where men can, go down to that suburb in the Sunshine Coast or down here on the Gold Coast. So that's really awesome to see, because I think when I was here a few years back, there weren't that many on the Gold Coast, just maybe a half a dozen or so. I just didn't know every single one of them, but
Yeah.
I remember coming across complete men, and yeah.
And that's growing all the time. And I think, some people are a little bit afraid of men getting together. And you asked me, what needs to happen or whatever. And as far as Complete Men and myself is concerned, yeah, we're not after government funding, or we're not after changing any legislation or anything like that. We're after men dealing with what is, and being the best men they can be with that. And I know when I've been struggling with some things, and, struggling with a relationship bust up and the legal system and everything, it felt quite comforting to find someone who goes, oh, yeah, bugger this, and the government should do this, and the legal system, and you can do this, and all of that stuff. It was just pouring gasoline on the fire of my anger. What really, really helped was not, people buying into my anger, but people who are going, yeah, wow, I remember being really angry when that happened. And what I found out later was that I would rather feel that anger than feel the hurt underneath it. And when I connected with the hurt underneath it, boy, I learnt a lot of stuff, And I lost the battles, but I won the war. I'm really happy in my life now, and it's far more meaningful, and I had to go through that shit to get here. That's what helped me. And that's what, I encourage other men to find in themselves, and brings a lot of meaning to my life.
Yeah, so before we wrap things up, how can they get a hold of you online?
Okay, completemen.org.au. And we've got a group, two groups on the Gold Coast on Wednesday and Thursday nights We've got an online group on Tuesday. We've got a big event with another number of other men's organisations, non-profit charities coming up next year. That'll all be on the website.
Cool. I'll also add the descriptions down below and the details and the links so you can all check it out. Once again, Tim, thanks for joining me on today's show. It was a wealth of gold nuggets that you've produced today, and I'm truly inspired. So thank you again for your time.
Thanks, brother. Well done.
Thank you.